everybody. I'm going to talk to you today about The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. Now listen, kids, stealing is wrong, but hearing about stealing and seeing it in movies like Heat and Ocean's 11, oh my God, it's so much fun. And this is no exception. This was, when I first heard about this fellow, I never got his details, but I remember the news reports when he got caught. And the way I had originally heard it was that he would just scoop something off a wall and walk out with it. Ironically, from my view, the first time he really literally did that is when he first got caught, and it started his downfall. Otherwise, it was just a little bit more complicated than that. Along with him was an accomplice. I did not know that. Her name was Anne Catherine. That was his live-in girlfriend. And they just about, I think the average given was about once every 12 days over some years, 8 or 9 years, I think it was 8. They stole something. He had something close to 300 art items, primarily objects, so there were some paintings. They could not steal large items. It had to be something that fit in, for example, a backpack of his, a purse of hers, or something he could slip down the back of his pants and up his shirt, that kind of thing. And what we have is not just the details of the various crimes, but the relationship between them and what Stephane, I believe it's pronounced Breitweiser, were like. Now, he himself, I got the impression that as the book got going, I'm like, this dude's maybe a little bit of a spoiled brat, because he wouldn't stay with the job more than a few days at a time. The one job that I think he got some time in was, ironically, as a museum security guard. So he got a view from the inside of how everything works. Otherwise, he just did little odd jobs here and there. Anne Catherine, his girlfriend, was she was a nurse, and she had a full-time job, so their thievery had to revolve around her schedule. So he winds up as an adult, not really working. His parents split, and his mother took him in. She had a home, and he lived up in like an upper floor, an attic, and with his girlfriend. And he just occasionally worked. He wouldn't hold on to a job. It was not for him. He was given, I believe the figure is $1,500 a month from his grandparents. He just got money. Here's some money. And dude liked to steal things. His first theft with her was in a museum, and there was a pistol on display, and he wanted it. And she's like, if you want it, take it. And he did. And the thrill of that, and the escape, and they got away with it and kept going. Now, what their relationship was really like depends on whose testimony you're going to believe, because afterwards, when they got caught and things fell apart, their relationship details were different from him to her. Now, before that, though, it was just interesting. His only real instrument was a Swiss Army knife. So he'd go in, take a look around. People are milling about, security guards generally sometimes checking on them. And she would go, sit around, I'm just sitting over here, minding my own business, and, whatever signals they had between them, she said yay or nay. She was the pragmatic judge of the situation. He was more the dreamer, and kind of a yin-yang between them. And it worked out very, very well. Something like $1.4 to $2 billion worth of stuff that they stole. I think there's even, is there a little, I don't know if I could, so there's a map of Europe with all the little dots as their, how many places he had stolen from. So he was, by the various psychiatrists that would analyze him afterwards, which he did not like, Apparently, if they said something negative, he just referred to them as assholes. And he had a bit of a narcissist streak in him, very obsessive. I mean, he really went after this, and she, according to him, was along for the adventurous ride. Uh, Even one time, you know, he had just stolen something, literally walks out from the museum, goes to his car. Someone had keyed it. He called the police. He's got a stolen item on him. And he called the police to report this crime. Brazen. It's funny. Now, I don't know if this is someone I would want to know as a person. The author surely did. He contacted him and spoke with him, broke the ice with him, and eventually they sat down for an actual interview, and things were cordial. At one point, when things started to fail, let me tell that part. So the one time, grabs a painting, starts to walk out, the two of them. Somebody grabbed him and they got arrested. This was a wake-up call for her, and for him, it wound up charging him up because no one knew about the other thefts. He didn't try to sell this stuff. He kept it. Everyone pretty much agrees that he really, really did love artwork, and he stole what he could to keep it and put it on display for himself and for her. And so the way a lot of thieves do get caught is they try to sell it again, and someone sells them out, or the cops are undercover and they nab them. Sometimes when they go to try to sell this stuff in the underworld, they wind up not getting a buyer because the buyer could get caught. And so there's instances where someone stole something very expensive and then days or weeks or months later dropped it off in front of the museum or at the local police station and left. Because of his preservation, like there was any number of thieves who break into a museum and they start tearing things up to get them. They'll knock out guards and whatnot like that. So Breitweiser at least gets a little more of an excuse as not being that horrible a thief, simply because he was so prolific and nonviolent about the whole thing. Wasn't really anything particularly confrontational about anything they did. But again, they did get caught, and he spent some time, and through the help of his mother and a lawyer, he actually winds up getting off for this one theft that he got caught with. And this, it's like, oh, well, now I'm invincible. But for her, again, it was a wake-up call, and she was now a bit more afraid of this, and so she started trying to essentially talk him out of it. And promises are made, and he broke those promises. He just kept going even without her. Between her and his mother, we find out that she had gotten pregnant, and they both knew that he wasn't going to be much of a father. And so she was taken to get an abortion. He finds out about this through a bill that comes in the mail and just loses it, and actually apparently hunts her down where she worked and just smacked her. And this, not just the action itself, but just the overall attitude that you think you're allowed to do that to someone, and it just, the narcissist streak seems to exist there for real. Even when he finally, what did he do? He got caught with one more item, this bugle. And this then, when it happened, and he had taken it, and he had met with Anne Catherine and showed it off to her. And basically, in so many words, she called him an idiot, because you probably have your fingerprints left all over this thing in the way that you got it. And so she went back. They went back together. He drove her there in her car, and she tried to go in and clean it up while he stayed outside. Well, somebody had remembered something about a theft recently, and they saw this guy walking around in his trench coat there, or I think it was a trench coat, it was a green one, and called the police, and they came and arrested him. And so now that's a couple things. that he has been caught. When he was caught the first time in Switzerland with the painting they tried to just walk out of, they banned him from the country. And here he was back in the country trying to do it again. And he got caught. And this now, this is just a tidal wave of jail time for him. Anne Catherine basically gets off. She did serve some time eventually being an accomplice for like 6 months. I think at the time he went to trial, he was 400 some days in jail. And along the way, he kept denying it and denying it and denying it, but he eventually has to start confessing because he just cannot take prison at all. He does, I guess, make at least some friends. He didn't do drugs of any sort. And so when it came to having to take urine tests, he would give a sample and the inmates would take and use that sample because he was clean. So he did at least make some allies in prison, but just being there was not for him. And he broke down and basically confessed everything. However, dear old mom decided to cover up and apparently took a lot of the items and dumped them in a river. They got discovered and were recovered. Maybe not all of it. Anything that was like more like a painting, apparently she said she took it out and burned it. And she wound up, I can't remember how much time she served, but she did serve at least some time. But he did get the brunt of it, and he would just never quit stealing. Even out on parole, he just can't help himself. Someone tried to say in the book that he's not a kleptomaniac, but it certainly sounds like that was just, he just couldn't help himself. And if he wanted to steal something, he could. He steals this art brochure out of this shop because he had walked in and noticed there's no real security here, and he just took one. And the author of the book was there with him when he did it. One of the things when they first met, he sat down with him in a hotel room. So after they'd broken the ice, he goes, "Okay, let's really have an interview." So they go in the hotel room, and he sits down and he starts wondering. I mean, there were some times when you're in these museums and there's people around and you still manage to take something and take off. And how do you do something like this? And he looked at him and he said, "Well, where's your laptop?" And he looked around and he realized that when he had come in the room, he had taken a laptop and set it down and turned away just for a moment. Turned around, sat back down, and in that moment he had taken his laptop and put it down in the back of his pants just to show him how it's done before he even asked the question. So he became just like a genius thief, really. It's just he got a bit brazen and careless and reckless, and just got caught. He actually, Anne Catherine completely cut off everything with him. He, through his entire prison time and trial, he denied that she ever really was an accomplice and just to protect her. And that's probably the reason why she wound up with a much lighter sentence. He did get another girlfriend afterwards. And guess what? He kept stealing stuff. And as soon as he got caught again, she's like, no, she cut him off immediately. That one did not last. And so he's basically by himself, all but broke. At one point, he was actually still stealing artwork and then trying to sell it. And so he became like the thieves that he didn't really respect because they weren't caring for it the way it should be. And he was just trying to make money. Just a real interesting book. It's a good, quick read. It's only 200 and a little over 200 pages, 213. The author's view is in here as a little chapter at the end about his experiences with them. Just good reading right there, nonfiction. I didn't get to it for nonfiction November. What are you going to do? So that is really it. So this is a couple days before Christmas. On Christmas, I'm supposed to get a new one of these as a gift. And hopefully that's better so you can hear me better. And as soon as I get it, I don't know if I'll do it Christmas Day, but sometime in a week, a few days, whatever, I will sit down and do my top 10 lists for the year, book and series or books within series, that kind of thing. It's been a damn good year for reading, and I can't wait to just gather my books and show them off, the top 10. That's it. Merry Christmas. When I do that video, my next next bit of reading, which I've got a to be read pile over here, and what do you know? I bought some more new books, and we'll be reading them before. So, but I'm getting there. There are books I've had for a long time, and I intend to finally get to them at the start of the year. I think for the rest of the year, though, I'll be catching up on One Piece because I crossed chapter 1000. There's 1100 something, and so if I kind of binge it a little bit, I'll finally get caught up and done with it. And that's been a great experience. And I don't know if I'll do a whole video with that or not. Everybody's kind of got One Piece cornered in booktube. I've just done some shorts, and that's about it. But that's it. Merry Christmas. I'm going to try my best to have a good holiday. I hope you do too. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.